What's up, YouTube? I'm on my way to go. I've got a trailer full of 2x6s, and I'm on my way to Lowe's to pick up 4 more 16-footers because I only have a few of those, and I like to use them so I can stagger my rib joist and all that stuff. So anyway, I also got to get some nails, and I was thinking about it today. I'm like, man, I really need to update my build sheet. You know, I've got an Excel Google Doc that has a breakdown of everything I've spent so far. So I'm going to do my best. Don't hold me to this, but do my best to update that and give a link in the description for this video. So anyway, I'm going to go pick up that stuff. I got to drop the trailer off. I've got to unload the bed of my truck because I'm then going to go buy 11 sheets of subfloor. I found a listing popped up on Marketplace last night. So per usual, kind of changes my plans for today, but I'm hoping I can get there early enough that I can pick it up, come back, and actually start framing up the base of this house today. So I'm going to go get this stuff, and then we'll see what happens. Well, hey, I'm back on site, and today is a really awesome day because I'm finally getting to do some framing. I guess what I did before with the post is framing, but, you know, this is the fun stuff. And so right now I've got everything kind of laid out behind me. I'm sure I will change it because I don't really know. I'm trying to fight shade too. I've got shade for the first couple hours of the day, and then it's full sun, and that's why you see me all covered up. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with layout and just kind of double checking everything, and I'll show you what I've got going on. So I'm here on the front wall, and I've got some 16-foot material that I'm using to kind of check this out. And it seems like, looking at the bubble, and I've got a big 6-foot level, I probably need to shim in that direction, add just a touch there to make it all that it's got to be. You got to be diligent. You know, you're building upon whatever else you've got going on. And so it just kind of stacks up. If you get sloppy at the beginning, it gets worse and worse and worse. And so what I'll end up doing, and here's the stump to give you a reference. I'm going to put, there'll be a double beam in the front, in the middle, in the back to kind of replace normal pier and beam where you put a 4x6 or something over this, and then you just stack floor joist over it however you want, and then put blocking. I'm going to forego the 4x6 and just double this up. Given what it is, it'll be just fine. I'm sure somebody in the comments that lives in California would think otherwise, but where I'm at, this is pretty normal. And so I'm going to do probably a single on the outside. I might double it up later if I feel like it, but I'll probably set this up in the corner, kind of use this corner as my reference. This is my starting place, and I'll check for level this way, you know, from the front to the back of the building, and then do my layout. And I'm going to use probably about 8-foot boards and land the seams, you know, between or whatever. It shouldn't matter too much because I'm already using jointed material, but it should be fine up against this, you know, the steel, what am I calling this? That's too early and I didn't get enough sleep last night. That's what you're hearing right now. But the doubled up rafter. And so it'll be plenty strong. I'll put a lot of nails in it. I've got lots of lumber. Probably not enough to finish this, and I probably won't get finished today either, but I'm just going to see how far I can get and see if I run into any major problems that make me have to move a pier or something crazy like that. I don't know, but I'll overcome. It'll be fine. All right, sorry, it's hard to get a good camera angle for what I'm about to show you, but I'm going to lay out the beginning of this. And I've got to account for a few things. I've laid out the piers where they're not going to interfere with my layout of this for the most part. I'm going to have to notch out where the toilet drain is, I think. But so in essence, I've got the edge of it, I've got 1.5 inches, and I might add something later too if I feel like it, just to have meat to set that, the floor, the sole plate on. I am so tired. but I'm going to start out. I cut a 16-inch block. This is just kind of some Larry Hahn. Look him up, Larry Hahn. I think it's H-A-U-N. But he's an old guy. He's dead and gone now, but he made a set of videos in the 90s that really kind of made me go, about framing. And these guys were like, they don't have what we have today. And so he uses a lot of this kind of stuff. And I thought it was cheesy, but I see the need to do that, especially when you start laying out, because it's hard to hold the tape where you want it to be. And then you double check it anyway. But anyway, so I got my 16-inch block. This is my layout. Got my tape. I'm going to measure 1.5 inches off the edge to account for that board, right? So the sheet good, my subfloor will go right up to the edge of that, and I want my layout to be around to cut sheets in some random way, which always seems to happen anyway, but we're trying to avoid as much of that as possible. So what I end up doing is going 16-inch centers is what I'm doing. So it'll be 16 is the center of it, and 3/4 that way, or that way, depending on how you want to do it, is where the board starts. And so it'll be 15 1/4 from where my tape lays right now. Remember, it's not on the edge. That would be on the edge. But so 15 1/4, I make a mark, and then I just measured here. So the next one's 31 1/4. And I've got a tape that has, red numbers to help you remember it. And then I'll just double check it. And so what I'll do is I will use my little gauge block here. I'll put you on time lapse and just do that. Do it on one board, then use a square to transfer it. And I always put an X on the side that the stud is actually going to go on, or the rafter in this case. So here we go. Now, I'm not a framer, and so this is probably going to be pretty slow going. These guys that do this day in, day out, just kind of whip it out, especially have a crew and you got somebody that's cutting and throwing boards at you and whatever. But, and this is for inspirational purposes and not educational purposes. I know there are other ways to do things. I think the point would just be, I'm trying to just inspire people to say, hey, go do something, man. You're probably going to mess something up. You're probably going to have to pull things out. Like yesterday, I'm sitting here in this middle row, and I got that end one wrong, and it was 2 inches off in the middle. And so I had to recut this whole row of posts. But, as long as you just correct your mistakes, I think you'll be fine. And I'm sure as this video gets some traction, people will comment about all the things that I've done wrong. But I've seen far worse in remodel, and so I'm not sweating it. But just to say that, please don't sue me, because you won't get anything but a pile of lumber. I guess today is going to be a day of a lot of strange angles, because I've got to set the tripod up wherever to catch what I'm doing here. But I cut my 2 boards here to start my layout. I'm starting the front, and then I'm going to attach the side. So I've got one 16-foot board. It's a little over. I'm about to cut it. And then I'm going to double up the front. I'm going to double up the middle. I'm going to double up the back. And so I'm about to figure out, okay, how long do my floor joists need to be? And so that's what you're about to see me do here. So I probably won't talk a lot about it. I'm just going to get in here and get it done. First, I'm going to go get some earplugs, because that's very important. to stop here for a minute and just kind of show you my process for working with some kind of gnarly looking lumber. I know you see this on video and you're like, oh, what in the world is he using? That looks like absolute garbage. And the truth is there are parts of some of what I'm using that are absolute garbage. And you have to use around those parts. A lot of times, just kind of the basics of it, I'll just look at a board for any defects, the same way they would when they grade something. You know, if you got a ton of knots in there, there's a knot like on the edge. I don't use it for anything structural. And a lot of things you can kind of cut down and use them later when you need blocking and stuff like that. So everything's pretty useful. Most of it doesn't end up burned or, you know, just in a pile somewhere. But I just wanted to show you kind of what I'm doing. This is probably one of the worst boards I've got because it's old and it's hard. You know, lumber kind of hardens over time. It's got nails in it. It's got defects and stuff. But just going to show you kind of how I work around it. And I already have been today. I'll go and I'll cut off one end if it looks a little bit, I don't like that. You know, cut 3 inches off or whatever, and then go back, you know, use that as my new edge and look at it. And if the wood looks bad, you can tell if it looks good and the grain pattern is what you need to frame with. You know, it's all right. But I just want to show you that because I'm sure there's some haters that are like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're using that garbage and making unsafe stuff. I'm not making unsafe stuff. It's lumber. You're used to seeing it brand new, but it's just when it's brown and kind of grayed out, it looks ugly, but it's perfectly fine. Let me show you. So I've got this old Doug fir, I believe. I don't know if you can tell. It's got a lot of nails in the top there. But look at that pattern. This is select, man. This is riff sawn. It's very stable. It's a pretty good board. This end, see that? And so I'll cut that split part off of that hole. This other end's pretty good. I'll cut from that, cut that end off, measure, cut, and then I'll pull the nails off. I try not to pull the nails off before, just because sometimes you can work around them and then not have to do as much work. So I'm just going to set it up and shut up and show you what I'm doing. My measurement for my floor joist is 91.5, so I just need to make sure I have enough to do that, and I've got plenty. I'll cut this off at like 8 foot in between the nails. You got one side that doesn't have nails on it, you can push it up against the fence. And they're tough on blades. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, please hold. Sucks working on an incline when you're doing stuff like this. But I look at the end of it, and it looks good. And you got to be careful, too. You use too old a lumber, it's a different size, which doesn't matter as much with floor joists. But like this is, it's 1 5/8 inches. All the new stuff is closer to 1.5 inches. So I cut my dirty end off, and now I'm going to get the rest of it out of this side. I hope it doesn't fall on a nail. If it does, I'll pull it out. Which slows down the process considerably, I know, but I'm building the way I'm building. I also like the idea that stuff isn't just being wasted. Give it new life. Oh, on that size thing too, sometimes these are wider, which I haven't measured. Standard 2x6s. No, it's the same, 5 1/4. If they're wider, you might have to go and rip on the table saw, which won't matter on floor joists because you just need the top level where the subfloor goes to be level. Everything else can kind of do what it does. All right, so I've got that. I grab my hammer and pull some nails. I'm sure the comments will say, this guy spent 3 minutes with one board. Not all of them are this bad. Like I said, this is the worst one I've got. Most of the time, I don't buy stuff that has nails in it. This just came from, I don't know where I got it, but I definitely didn't pay any money for it. So is it worth 10 minutes of my time? Probably so. Maybe not. I'm doing the best I can. And if this offends you, this is probably not the channel for you, so just move on. There's plenty of other YouTube channels to watch. Wish I had my nail pullers, those work better. But like I said, I think I have 2 boards in this whole pile that have nails in them like this. There it is. I wasn't real happy with the way my layout was going. It's a little bit off. I'd started and I had a gauge block and all that business over here, but I think I'm going to change it up. So what I've done is just laid in the 2x6 I'm going to use for that. And I'm going to just pull a line, pull tape from there. It's not off too bad. It's enough that I'm not going to change it, you know what I mean? But just kind of pull from there, make my marks on top. And again, you go 3/4 of an inch that way to account for centering the floor joist. For the rest of this, because I want my layout to be as tight as I can make it. And it drifted a little bit. I had 1 or 2, I don't know what the deal was, but you kind of have to do this when you frame like that. You've got to, check your work, because if you're not careful, you get a problem, and problems build upon problems, unfortunately, when you do this. So I'm going to set back up on time lapse and keep on going. But I just want to show you, this is an issue I ran into, and I'm aiming to correct it before it gets to be problematic. Right now, I can deal with it. It's fine. It's like a 1/4 inch off on 2 of them, but I don't want to get to the end of the run, all the way down there and be sistering joists, like putting 2 together and wasting materials and all that crap. Plus, it's just, I can do better. And so that's what I'm doing. Gonna change the way I'm doing it, because this is gonna work better. To get started, I think this is probably the way to go, especially since I'm working by myself. As you can see, like I've got, temporary stuff in here. But I got to make it better, because I don't want to fight the whole rest of the way. I was about to set my tripod up right there. All morning long, I've been hearing some stirring and thought, what in the world's going on? I've seen tons of deer around here, but I don't know if you can see. I don't want to get too close. Let's see if we can zoom in. Yeah, you can't tell. There is a little fawn right there, right in the center of my screen. Scared me out to death. I got so close to him. I'm trying to get my tripod out of the way without scaring him. I've never seen that. That's crazy. He's still got spots and everything. I'm going to get a little bit closer, because I got to get my tripod now. I'm going to try to not disturb him. I'm not going to mess with you. It's being so still. Look at this guy. I mean, I'm 10 feet away from him. So I'm going to move over here and try not to.
I'm over here on the far corner. So the corner I start at is that way. And I'm having a hard time making this corner fit. And so I'm going to persuade it. What I've done is I've screwed on a few pieces. And you'll see me bang on this and whatever. But this thing is not, I haven't squared it up yet. I'm just going to kind of build it and eyeball it. And then I'll square it by hitting it with a sledgehammer or whatever this way and that way to kind of make the rhombus a square in essence, or a rectangle. But I'm going to wait till the end to do that, which it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's the most accurate method, I guess. And I've tried to keep it relatively square, but I know like my piers aren't perfectly square either. But I built in about, I've got 3 inches, something like that on either side to help me facilitate making it square and kind of having some breathing room. So I'm just going to bang on this for a minute. We'll see what happens. Actually, come to think of it, I've got a really big clamp in my truck. I think I'll just use that. That'll probably give me the best result. So please hold. All right. So here it is. Here's what I've got. See the gap? I know my camera work is great. I'm closing that gap. Maybe right here. Using that front camera. I have to pull it and screw at the same time. I can't hold it and do that, but I'll do it. You'll just know that it was tighter than it was now. Hey, well, that's all for today. I ran out of steam, I ran out of water, and as you can tell right there, I ran out of materials. I need 8 more 2x6 by 8s or something like that to finish out what I've got going on, which is awesome because I didn't expect to get this far today, but it's pushing through. It is so hot. I'm tired. I did not bring enough water. So I'm going to call it quits for today. So please like and subscribe. Thanks so much for sticking around for this journey. I still haven't updated the cost sheet, but I'm going to do that real soon. Okay. Thanks.